Hi, this is Larry with Man Cave Mayhem. Today I'm going to be working on the Trail 125, specifically again my wife's Trail 125, her 2024, which is sitting behind me. You can notice a difference. One of them has a windscreen and one of them doesn't. So I took the opportunity to buy in these windscreens. I think they're WOOGA is the name of them, obviously a Chinese brand. And I thought it would be wise of me to put one on first, just to kind of see what kind of obstacles I would run into. So in this video, we're going to be unboxing the windscreen for my wife's bike. We're going to be weighing it, and we're going to be kind of going through some of the good things about them and the bad things about them. If you haven't yet, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Check us out at Instagram at mancave_mayhem. Now let's get on with the video. All right, first off, we're going to be unboxing this thing, and I got this on Amazon, and I'll include the link in the description for this product if you guys decide that you want to try it out on your Trail 125. So we'll get it unboxed here and see what comes with it. All right, first thing I can say is it's packaged pretty well. This is going to be the windscreen or the windshield itself. And it's wrapped up nicely. Double wrapped, as a matter of fact. I opted for the tinted one. They make a clear one, and they also make this is a light tint, but they also make a darker tinted one, like almost black, you know. But there is a little abrasion, it looks like, almost. I don't know. It's kind of a haze, like it was handled wrong, maybe. So that would be a negative on that. It's not like it's not. It's almost like I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it's almost like it got rubbed during packaging or something, or shipping, but not in bad shape, not bad. And you got to realize too, I think this was under $90 for the whole kit, so it's not too bad a deal. But anyhow, so there's the windscreen. We'll get this trash out of the way. Here's the mounting bracket or the mounting bar that comes with it. You can see that. Pretty stout, not super heavy. We're going to weigh everything, so we'll let you know how that comes out. So there's that. Let's get this box out of the way so we can lay everything out. We'll set that aside. Let's get this opened up. All right, we got all kinds of goodies in the hardware bags. We've got the mounting brackets that actually mount the windscreen to the mounting bar. So we got two of those. And then these are the actual brackets that go on the triple tree. So you're going to be replacing your original Honda bracket. So I'm going to stop right here and show you what I had to replace. These triple tree clamps will replace your original Honda clamp, which kind of made me sad because I kind of like that. It's kind of cool. What I may end up doing is taking one of the hardware Allen bolts and getting a longer one and putting that up on top, just because I like that look. I don't know why. It's kind of silly, but I like that. So these will be replacing that upper bracket that comes with the bike. And you get two of those, obviously. And then we have a simple hardware thing. You'll reuse the bolts for that. You get a couple of tie downs. I'm not quite sure for what, because I didn't use them in the last application. You get 8 rubber grommets and 4 screws, button head Allen screws. So that's the extent of the kit. Now let's get it weighed, and then we'll start the installation process. All right, as you know, I like to weigh everything just to kind of get an idea what you're throwing on your bike, especially when it comes to these 125. So I've got all the parts on the windscreen, and we're going to go ahead and set that on the scale. Very scientific method there. But let's see what we're looking at here. We're close to 3 pounds. We're pushing the 3 pound limit there on weight. So that's kind of what you'll be dealing with if you're going to be putting this on. You're adding 3 pounds to the front of the bike. Not a big deal, but every pound matters. So let's move on to the installation. All right, the tools you're going to be using for this installation is you'll want a pick tool. You're going to want a 3/8 drive ratchet along with a couple of sockets. This is what I used. You don't necessarily have to, but it makes things a little easier. I used a 5mm Allen, a 6mm Allen socket, then a 5mm Allen key and a 6mm Allen key. And I had an extension. I also used this hammer just to tap the handlebars, but you may not need that. And then I also used this 5mm Allen key just to help me on the installation a little bit. So you can be a little flexible on the tools, but that's what I use. All right, first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our Allen key and we're going to loosen up these triple tree brackets. So we want to get these kind of loosened up a little bit. I chose to use some medium strength Loctite. Makes me feel warm and fuzzy. I love it. So you want to get these kind of loosened up. There's no real easy way to do this, especially when you're doing it by yourself. It makes it a little more challenging. So if you can get an assistant to help you, that's always good. But I'm loosening these up now. And then I am going to loosely fit these on the mounting bar. So let's get that done. Now what I did to make it a little easier to line up on mine, because nothing's perfect, is I had removed my triple tree clamp from the bike originally, and I set that on there. And with the hardware, or with the bolts, I ran the bolts through to line that up as best I could. Once I got that lined up, then I mounted it. So I'm going to line this up first. I'm going to loosen the hardware bolts, line this up, and then we'll move on to the next step. But let's move over to the bike. Next step in the process is you're going to take a pick tool or something of some sort to pull these little plastic beauty covers off to expose the Allen bolts on the motorcycle. So that's what we're doing right now. We're going to pop those out. Get those all exposed. Got 4 of those. We're going to put those to the side. Next step is we're going to take our 6mm or number 6 Allen wrench, and we're going to start loosening these bolts up. Now I like to take some towels and put around the area just in case those bars fall down and hit something. So that's what I'll do first, and then I'll get back to you. And they're super tight from the factory, but you'll hear them pop. You'll know that's when you made it through. They're not really easy to break free. Once you get those loose, carefully take them all out, remove them. It's going to take a bit to get that triple tree clamp off the handlebars. It kind of clamps down on the handlebars, so it makes it a little bit challenging. Now I like to use this little 6mm on an extension, this Allen socket, so I can get in here, because I've got a crossbar on my bike. If you don't have a crossbar, motocross type bar running across the handlebars, then you don't have to worry about it. You can use an Allen wrench or an Allen key, but this just makes it a little faster. At this point, you just want to be careful that you don't have the bars fall on you. That's where that second person comes in handy. Now we'll move on to the next step. Now the handlebars should still be kind of on there tight, but you can just kind of move it. And this triple tree clamp on the top part, you might want to take a dead blow hammer to get this off, because it's a little, it's tight on there. So I just got a little rubber mallet or whatever, and I'll tap this off of here, being careful not to drop it like that. You don't want to do that. Now that that's off, we'll move over to the bench. Now, like I said before, we're going to use this in our favor to line this up ahead of time. And the way I did that is I just dropped the bolts in. And you'll see there's some flaws in the Chinese workmanship here. This one's actually lining up better than mine did, but it's a little off. So once you get those in there and get it kind of lined up, now we can pull out one of these at a time and put some Loctite on them and get those locked down. So let's do that. Now that those are tight, we'll move on to the next step. All right, next step, we're going to take these out now. Now there's going to be some tension on this because these don't line up perfectly. So we'll deal with that when we get to the handlebars, but let's get this off right now. All right, once you get that plate off, now you're going to want to loosely fit this onto the bike. Here's where I ran into a little bit of trouble on my bike, and I may have done something wrong, but this looks like it's going on pretty well now. So I ran this bar all the way close to the end on these clamps. And let me get around here to show you. So you can see how these clamps are, the bars. It's pretty close to the end. There's a little bit of space there, real estate. When you come over to mine are down quite a ways. So I think this is the better way to do it. There's not as much interference. In the end, if you have too much interference, all you'll need to do is adjust your orientation on your actual brake reservoir and brake clamp here. So if you adjust that back, it'll pull it off the bar. That's what I found worked best for me. And as you can see right here, I got plenty of clearance between the brake and the handlebar. But now we're going to want to bolt this down, and you want to make it tight. I'm going to use a little Loctite on those because it makes me feel safer. So let's do that now. All right, so we're going to take our 6mm Allen wrench and put a little Loctite on these bad boys and secure them down. So what I do is I put 2 in there just to hold it semi in place. Of course, you're going to want to adjust your handlebars to your liking. And then we're going to thread that in. These are a bit challenging to get in because they don't line up perfectly. So you kind of have to work with them a little bit. Might have to hop on the struggle bus just for a minute. Now once you get the handlebars set the way you want them, slowly tighten these down using your 6mm Allen key. And you're just going to tighten these down and get them snugged up really good. You want them pretty tight. And you can see though, it eliminates that centerpiece. So that if that's something you don't like or you don't want to do, then you can probably get some longer bolts and put that piece on top. I may do that just for looks. I don't know. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and get this tightened down. Once we get that tightened down, we'll move on to the next step. Next step is going to take place here on the workbench. We're going to loosen these up, these 2 mounting brackets. We're going to take the clamps off of these, set them aside, and then I'll show you the next. All right, now that we've gotten those taken apart, you're going to flip these over, and these are going to go right underneath the windscreen. But before you do that, you're going to want to put 1 rubber grommet on the back side here, on each hole, over each hole. Then just carefully put that under there and leave it sit there. Then we're going to take our button head Allen bolts and we're going to put a rubber grommet on each one of these. We'll do 2 of these right now. And then we're going to take our 5mm Allen key. We're just going to thread those in there. Now I used Loctite on these. I don't think it's necessary. On my bike I used Loctite, and I ended up getting some on the windscreen, so that probably wasn't the best idea. I've made some dumb decisions in the past, and that's probably one of them. So we're going to go ahead and put that on there, and we'll snug those up pretty good. You don't want to crush them down too far to where the rubber thing is like squeezing out, but you want to kind of snug them up pretty good so it doesn't rattle loose either. So once you get the one side done, you just move over to the next side and repeat the process. And that should do it on this part of the process. So it should look like this when you're done with it. And those are connected up. Now we'll move over to the bike and finish mounting this up. All right, now we're at the front of the bike, and you know I'm big on using towels to kind of protect things, so I'm going to set that there. And all we're going to do is we're going to set this put this windshield on here, or windscreen on here, and we'll set it there, prop it there. And we're going to take these Allen bolts with the clamp on the back, and we'll put some Loctite on these, and then get those threaded onto the back with our number 5 Allen key, or our 5mm, whatever you want to call it. I tend to call them number 5s. But anyhow, we're going to go ahead and we'll get this mounted up, and then I'm going to give you my final thoughts and great wisdom. Now let's look and see if this thing's really going to make a difference. We'll take it for a test ride and see how it does. I even got the 360 camera on here so you guys can come along with me. So let's get this thing on the road and see what happens. Hopefully it makes a difference, blocks a little wind, and maybe gives a little more miles per hour. Who knows? Let's check it out. All right, for my final thoughts on this windscreen, I'm going to give you some of the positives first. This thing can be flipped over, so I didn't mention that earlier, but you can actually flip this screen over and use it kind of in a low position, or you can use it in a high position. So that's really kind of a positive. Depends on your riding styles and what you want out of a windscreen, but I think that's really cool. Also, the windscreen's made of polycarbonate, which, you know, that's what they're claiming. I'm assuming it is. So that's a little more durable than the other plastics that are used on windscreens. For a natural reason for windscreen, it blocks the airflow, which it seemed to help significantly. Not a ton, but it kept the air off my chest, which was great. After the test ride, I felt like it did a pretty good job. It also, especially if you get the darker one, it shades your instrument cluster. Anybody that has a Trail 125 knows that these instrument clusters are kind of hard to read in the sun. So that kind of makes it nice. Not that you need to really know how fast you're going, because it doesn't go that fast. What I've thought about doing too is maybe putting something, I have this just sat on here, but putting something on the rack to help shade that instrument cluster even more. So that's another thought I had. But yeah, I flipped that just to kind of give you guys an example of what you can do with these. Also, it gives you some real estate for the GPS. So I like that about it. You got real estate here for a GPS or a camera or whatever you want to mount there. It works really good. You can actually mount your phone mount there. I have a quad lock on both of these, so you can mount it however you want on those. But those are the positive things. Now for a few of the negative things. There's really no instructions on how to get this thing working, so I kind of just had to shoot from the hip on that. So that was kind of a negative that I saw. It covers part of the headlight rack, which I'm not really a fan of, because if you try to put stuff on here, you're going to be dealing with probably scratching your windscreen, unless you figure out a way to put a cover on that, or you don't care, sticker bomb it maybe. But yeah, it kind of defeats the purpose of the headlight rack, and there's no real way to set that back behind it. That would be ideal if you could. So I think, you know, you might be able to. I don't know. I don't think there's any way, like especially with this rack, there's no way to really set that behind that. The other rack you might be able to, but not on mine with a SRC rack. But not a big game changer. Also, the parts are kind of inconsistent. What I ran into was some inconsistencies with the parts. So all the hardware was great. You know, it was top notch. The only issue I really had in mounting this, and it could have been partially my error, was this bar right here. My bar was bent in a little bit. My wife Nancy's bar went right on, had no problem. So there's kind of some inconsistencies. But if you can deal with that, it's actually a really cool product. I didn't get these for free. I didn't get a discount on these. I paid full pop for these. They're on Amazon. If you guys want one of these, I'm going to include it in the link in the description below this video, and it helps out my channel. If you guys happen to get one of these racks, that's great. If you don't, no big deal. Anyhow, if you haven't yet, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Check us out at Instagram at mancave_mayhem. And just remember, folks, I'm just a man in a cave causing mayhem. Thanks for watching.